Who would win in a fight between the special grade sorcerer Yuta and the newly born cursed Naoya, both of which have been featured within the culling games and have also been very tough opponents for the people who they fought. This topic has become way more debatable, seeing as Maki and Toji have both had new feats on the Sukuna who's entered Megami's body. So we'll be going over who'd win in this fight and whether or not it's closer than we think. Hi guys, this is Glitch here. I'm back with another video. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe. And remember to base all of your opinions off of what I say in the video and not your own personal biased beliefs. So now let's get into it. Starting off with the less famous sorcerer, Naoya. Naoya has been well renowned as being someone who uses his cursed technique, projection sorcery, in one of the most unique ways we've ever seen within the story. He's shown to be able to freeze the air with it and hit people with the shards that have been broken off. This is something that not everyone does within the manga. And even people like Naobito, someone who's had the cursed technique for over 70 years, has never been shown to be able to use the cursed technique like that. Naoya also has the ability of a domain expansion, something that he only recently used after he'd been shown to get bullied by Maki. Though he should be at least marginally weaker than Maki, I don't think it should be a massive difference, seeing as not only are Maki's reactions to him distance reactions, as well as the fact that even if you want to argue that Maki is drastically above, I think the reason that she's able to kill him whenever he evolves into a second form or his third, I really can't remember, is because of her immunity to domains rather than a stat difference. I think that his transformation is basically just to symbolize how Naoya is reaching Toji's level, but he'll never be able to get there because Toji and Maki lack something that he doesn't, which is cursed energy. His domain has a pretty wacky ability, seeing as his curse technique is 24 FPS or projection sorcery. It means that he binds everyone who is inside his domain into moving like him, and if you don't move like him, every part of you, including your cells, will begin to go out of whack. And we see this ability work on people like Katana Man and the sumo guy, I really can't remember their names. We see it damages them heavily and it causes them to bleed profusely all over their body. We also know Naoya should be at least massively faster than the speed of sound, seeing as whenever he fights Choso, he's able to dodge his piercing blood, which is stated to be the speed of sound, as well as the fact that he's also stated to be transonic, we also see him breaking the sound barrier. All of this would just lead to the conclusion that he'd be faster than sound, and to deny this would just be you denying what we see on panel. As well as this, we know that Naoya should at least be stronger than the Maki he fought whenever he was a human. We know this because he's able to casually beat him up, and the only reason Maki is able to hit him is because he's off guard and he believes Maki would be frozen. I think that at the very least he should be above all of the Zenin clan, which would include people like Naobito Zenin, who was afraid of fighting Toji, whereas Naoya was able to box with Maki, who is equal to him, pretty casually. He then goes on into his curse form, where he gets massively faster, going from transonic to supersonic. He's shown to move so quickly he breaks the glass around him, and he moves so fast that even people like Noritoshi Kama, who's constantly amping himself with cursed energy, is unable to perceive him when he's in base, and needs to actually go into his flowing red scale form to be able to at least marginally keep up with him. This cursed wombed Naoya is shown to at least be able to box with Maki somewhat. He's able to dodge some of her attacks, and though Maki and Kama do get the upper hand on him, it just shows that Maki is unable to handle him efficiently, at least by herself, and she needs extra help to do so. Whenever he breaks out of his cursed womb form and goes into his form that most fans like to call Skullia, we see that he's able to get to at least Mach 3 speed. We know this should be drastically weaker down and slower than what he actually is at, but in nice baseline we'll say he's Mach 3 at worst. At this speed, he's able to blitz people like Maki, someone who he blitzes her so fast and so hard that he's surprised that he lost to her beforehand. He's basically just become really shocked. Even in this form, we see he gains much more maneuverability, seeing as he's able to use the muscle-like appendages around his body to maneuver himself, and also he's able to contract his muscles into his skull form so that he becomes so tough that even Maki with a sword is unable to damage him. With all of this out of the way, we need to discuss how his domain expansion would interact with Yuta's. Domains are a battle of whose cursed energy is more refined, and also type matchups can also be a factor put into it. But aside from those two things, domains also have another key deciding factor into them, which is also your cursed energy output. Whoever puts in more cursed energy into their domain is also most likely to be the winner. This should be pretty consistent, seeing as, for example, Sukuna and Jogo, whoever puts in more cursed energy into their actual fire attacks, we see that's the one who wins. So I don't see why this shouldn't apply for domains too. Yuta should obviously have the domain advantage, seeing as he has several statements saying that he has boundless cursed energy and several other things like that. However, it's a question of who would use their domain first. Whenever Naoya is in his semi-human, semi-cursed form, we see that's his first plan of action. Even though Yuta does have a stronger domain, right, we can just tell that he wouldn't use it off the bat, and it's something that he only uses as a last resort whenever he's trying to combat reuse technique. Reuse domain, I should say. However, if he's caught within Naoya's domain, I don't think he'd die instantly. Yuta has access to reverse curse technique, which would allow him to heal from the damage he gets from his cells by Naoya's domain. This would mean that Yuta should also still be able to erect his own domain, assuming that he doesn't get torn to bits by the excess movement that doesn't abide by the 24 frames technique. But is Yuta even fast enough to keep up with Koshima? Well, let's get into that now. Yuta is described to be someone who is at least the second strongest sorcerer in the mainstream. We see he's stated to be only second to Gojo in terms of unusual abilities. Unusual abilities should encompass not only his stats and his hacks, seeing as not only is being superhuman an unusual ability to have, as well as his curse technique is also something that is even considered unusual throughout the sorcerers too. So, with all of this in mind, Yuta should be stronger than people and faster than people like Naobito, and also people like Ogi too. All of these people who are renowned as grade 1 sorcerers, and I don't think it'd be too far-fetched to say that he's faster than them. Said people are also should be able to be faster than Piercing Blood, seeing as someone who is slower than the two Yuji is able to block Piercing Blood casually and is also able to dodge it at point blank range, which some of these calcs get Yuji to Mach 28, which is again just massively faster than the speed of sound. So Yuta isn't a slowpoke at any stretch of the term, but whenever both of them interact with Naoya, right, with Yuta fighting Yuji and Naoya also fighting Yuji, we see Naoya is able to perform massively better, because we see he's able to kind of perception blitz Yuji and beat him up without Yuji being able to actually keep up with his movements. Though some could argue that he's disoriented by the 24 FPS technique, the same would also apply to Yuta, that Yuta, whenever he fights Naoya, would also be disoriented by his curse technique. As well as the fact that we see the way that you stop getting disoriented by Naoya's curse technique is to actually have the perception speed to keep up with them. Now, we know that since Yuji is getting hit by these attacks, obviously his perception speed isn't enough to keep up with Naoya's movement. And Yuji literally comments on how Naoya is fast, and he knows that it's a curse technique, because someone shouldn't be able to be that fast regularly. So, with all of this information out of the way, we should at least have Naoya is massively faster, I should say, than base Yuta. However, this all changes whenever Yuta brings out Rika. Rika is an ability that stores Yuta's cursed energy and allows him to bring out cursed techniques. And these cursed techniques he's able to copy from other people by ingesting them using Rika. For example, whenever he bites off Uro's arm and he eats it, or Rika eats it I should say, we see he's able to use a curse technique. And the same should be said for Dhruv, seeing as he's also able to use his curse technique too. So, Yuta, whenever he brings out Rika, should just be massively faster than he was regularly. We see that in his base he's getting pressed and beaten up by Ryu. However, when he brings out Rika, he's performing much better, and his cursed energy output and his cursed energy amount is just increasing massively. So even though we don't have a direct quantification for how much it increases, we know that he should just be massively faster than he is in his base, and it just disingenuous to try and assert that Naoya would still be unable to or be faster than Yuta whenever he has Rika out. The reason that this fight mainly would be weighing in Yuta's favor is seeing as Yuta has the additional set of offense in the form of Rika. Rika is just someone who's described to be at least tougher than Yuta in terms of raw durability, I should say. Talking like noodles now, as well as the fact that Rika is also able to just like keep up with Yuta in terms of speed. So I don't think I see Naoya being able to keep up with both of them without the aid of his curse technique or without the aid of his domain too. And to couple that with the Yuta's overwhelming CE like AP advantage, we see Yuta is able to like produce more CE at once than almost every other sorcerer apart from Ryu, with his output being stated only a little weaker than Ryu's maximum. And since cursed energy output is one of the main bases for how like strong your technique is, then I think it should just be implied that Yuta's like AP should just massively outclass Naoya's. So with all of this information out of the way, I think the fight would just go to Yuta in this sense, with a mid-high def scenario. Even though this fight isn't one-sided, I think the additional advantage of Ryu, or Rika I should say, being there, as well as Yuta's ability to use Uru's curse technique, as well as like Drew's curse technique as well, something that is able to at least contend with people like Uru. I think it should just make sense for Yuta to be the overall stronger combatant, seeing as he not only has the numbers advantage, but also the advantage in domain. And speed is something that's massively debatable on who'd be the faster of the two. So if you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and have a nice day. This has been Glitch, and I'm out.